Okay, so we're back with Evan Falchuk here. So we were talking about Charlie Baker, his first 100 days, his first few months, and the second question would be, what would you have done differently? So take over the microphone. Just take it from here.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's been a challenging period of time, and I still think the Olympics has been the number one issue that he's
Right.
had to deal with. We also had the problem with the T, which was really not his doing in terms of the decades of underinvestment and irresponsible management of that agency that led to the collapse of the system.
Right.
And of course, he's in the midst of trying to figure out how to dig out of that. So he's got some pretty big issues on his hands and on his plate. Part of the reason that I think that what he should do relative to the Olympics is just say, look, we're just going to put a stop to the charade around taxpayer money because we've got too many other important things to do. Is to insist that the legislature pass a law that says basically what's in our referendum that says no taxpayer money could be used for the Olympics. If he were to do that, then it would just end this whole distraction, and we could have our elected officials focus on the issues that are really important, which right now are being completely distracted by how do we deal with the Olympics. You know, they're spending $250,000 of taxpayer money on a consultant to study the
Do you
question
think
of the
this is
Olympics.
part of the charade, though? It's like, oh, look over here and don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. Because we
I,
have, Evan, you know, we talked about this. We got the DCF problem,
yeah.
we've got the MBTA problem, we've got unfunded liabilities problem.
Yep.
So we've got all these problems. So isn't that, again, it's like, oh, pay attention over here and don't pay
It's
attention to the man behind the curtain. Go ahead.
bread and circuses, right? I
Right,
mean, this is
exactly.
it's a convenient distraction to be having all this attention focused on the Olympics and not on these other issues. And a lot of these other issues are hard as well.
Right.
So we need people in office who insist that we deal with them. So you know, I think to the extent that this continues to overtake anything else on the agenda, that's a real problem. I think that part of leadership is not just doing the parts that are obvious, but really looking for the places where we've got a disconnect between what's happening and what we're saying should be happening and taking action on them. I think right now, when if you think about what's the deep issues happening in our country, what we need leaders to deal with, it isn't so much around the administration of government. That's a real problem. But there's a
Right.
lot of people that can
Yeah.
deal with how to better administer
Yes.
government. It's a vacuum of leadership, which means that where should we be starting? Well, let's start with the fact that people don't trust the government on lots of different levels. Are taxes being spent properly? No. Are tax breaks going out to companies that are politically influential and they're the ones driving policy? Yes. Do we believe that any one of the agencies that the state has is doing as good as it can do? Well, look at the MBTA, look at DCF, look at the way that the
Sure.
probation department was
Sure.
run.
Right.
I mean, how could you trust any of it? So leaders should be the ones dealing with those issues. The rest of it becomes, as you said, it ends up being a distraction. So, you know, for me, what I want to see from a leader is someone who's going to take that stuff on. Someone who's going to go there and do mid-level management kind of work. We can hire a lot of people like that. And there's a lot of smart ones in Massachusetts with real life experience. But we need people that will take on the big stuff.
There are people that work in that mid management level that seem to. I've had a couple on my show, and they seem to be talking about how they're trying to work hard, they're trying to work through these problems, but even they themselves say it's from on high. It's
Hmm.
above. We get the directives, we get the management from on high. We're not able to do anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's a convenient excuse. If you know, I've been in business prior to doing this for 15 to 20 years, and it's always easy to talk to the person who says, "Well, it's not my fault. It's my boss's fault." And sometimes it's true. Sometimes their boss is terrible, and they need to be removed from their job and liberate that lower level employee to do an awesome job. But a lot of the time, the culture of organizations starts at the very, very top. And if the message
Yeah.
is clear from the beginning that we're going to take on really big, challenging issues, like for me, when I see the various very scandalous things that have come out after Governor Baker took office, the things that were left over from the end of the Patrick administration, I would have said, hey, you know what we're going to do? Anyone wants to make a public records request, we're not going to fight against any of them. You can have anything you want from the executive branch. And any reporters that want to come and try to win a Pulitzer Prize by digging up some scandal in state government, come on in. Just come on in. Go ahead. That doesn't happen because people get into power and then they circle the wagons because they're worried that when they get out of office, someone will do that to them. So they try to do each other that courtesy. It shouldn't be that way. And I think if the message from on high was, guess what? Everything's under the microscope. So you have to decide what side you want to be on. Do you want to be on the side of the people that are trying to cover up what happened, or do you want to be on the side of the people that are going to reveal to the public what's been wrong?
Let's do a devil's advocate. Evan Falchuk, governor of Massachusetts. Open administration, what would you do?
Relative to this issue that I just talked about?
Yeah, well, exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
really, I know it's a rhetorical question. I mean, seriously, he just
air it out. You know?
Yeah, air it out.
Air it out. Let's see what's there. I mean, we're all taxpayers, and voters are all grown-ups, and we should be able to handle it, whatever it is that's gone on. You know, if someone's been stealing money, if someone's been hiring people for unlawful reasons, if they've been wasting money on things that they're not supposed to be spending it on, if there's some law that hasn't been followed or implemented, let's know about it and let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. You know, what ends up happening, unfortunately, think about what happened at the end of the Patrick administration, and these things will happen to any governor.
It turns out he's got, I don't know if this is true, I have to look into it, he's like being investigated for embezzling $27 million. It's like, I'm scratching my head thinking, is anybody surprised?
Right. Well, I mean, and the fact that this kind of stuff could happen, and no one was raising all kinds of red flags
at the time beforehand.
Right. I mean, this is, you can't move around the sums of money that were getting moved around, some $37.5 million allegedly, without people knowing that this was happening. People knew, and no one did anything. It's like when the probation department problem happened, and everybody was involved in it, from the Democratic and Republican Party. People had slots so they could hire people in the probation department. And when the prosecutions started to happen, everybody clammed up. No one knew anything. You know, everyone was...
Evan, I just read a book. I just finished reading a book. I talked to the author of the book, Patrick Wood, from the book. He wrote the book Technocracy Rising. In one of the chapters, he talked about a legal term called misprision. It sounds like misprison, like prison being in jail, but it's misprision. And what it means is the knowing of, and it talks about actual government employees, not you, me, the guy next door. Somehow we know about a crime. That's complicity. That's a different standard of law. This is called misprision. It's called the knowing of something that goes on in government, something that is scandalous, something that is malfeasant, and you know about it, yet you don't say anything about it. You don't do anything about it. You know about it. You don't even have to actually be a part of it. You see it. You know what's going on. It's an actual law. It's called misprision. You know that that's going on. Therefore, it becomes a violation of the oath of the Constitution, the oath of law, the oath of your office. And therefore, not only is the person who's committing the crime guilty of committing that crime, the person who saw that knows that. We just talked, Evan. Senators, representatives, everyone knows this is going on. Nobody does anything about it. Because they see this and they don't do anything about it, they are complicit in the crime.
That's right. Absolutely right, and really well said. That's the kind of thing that we want our leaders to be talking about, instead of trimming around the edges. You know, if that's the culture of the organization, and it is, and we all know that it is, the question becomes, as voters, what do we do about it? You know, you can go to any coffee shop, any bar, any radio program and have this conversation. Everybody would say the same thing. It wouldn't matter where they were on the political spectrum or what part of the state they lived in. They'd say, yeah, of course this is the kind of stuff that goes on, but it's become accepted in a way that I don't understand.
How many times did you hear when you were on the campaign trail, we gotta arrest them all, just get them, throw them all out? And I
Right.
know that on the general terms, it's like, okay, we understand that mindset, we understand that, and some people would dismiss that. Okay, but now when you really think about it, you scratch your head and you think, you know what? Yeah, maybe we should just call the cops, get them up there, round them all up.
Well, or better, because it's easier, vote him out of office.
Right.
And from my perspective, the way that that happens is when, remember I was saying that the people in power are very happy to everybody be divided along these ideological lines. That's what they're very happy with that because it works. Because, we could be saying, oh, that rep is terrible. But man, if you pick some issue that someone in some district thinks is really, really important to them, it doesn't matter what it is. You could pick, there's people who are very into single payer health care, to use a liberal issue. And if that representative is right on that issue of single payer health care, well, they can't really do that much wrong in terms of this misprision or anything else that you might talk about.
Right.
Because, geez, you might lose to someone who's on the wrong side of this issue. You could pick any other issue anywhere along the spectrum. This is how this stuff works. Well, that plays right into the hands of the people in that existing system, that existing power structure.
Jesus, really?
And if we could put aside those issues that we say, look, the laws are not being followed. And they're getting away with it because we're not getting alternatives, people who can run and win in districts, because they've so scientifically engineered it to understand how many people have to show up to vote, what will it take to get that person to win, what narrow set of issues you got to talk about to win an X, Y, or Z district, and it keeps everybody else away. We can start getting people out there that will talk purely on the level of these higher order issues. I think that people will be surprised at what kind of an interesting coalition you can put together from across that defies these old political systems.
Right.
And how much that could get done. And we'll get to those other issues that people disagree on. You could have a really meaningful and interesting conversation about guns, for example, with people that are of goodwill and good faith from across the political spectrum. But guess what? In our political process today, those don't end up being the people who get elected. You end up with the no guns, take them away type of attitude, or the no regulation. And then there's no conversation. But that works. And this absolutist mentality is what drives, it feeds the current system. So what I see is opportunity, because I'm optimistic, is that we can bring people together if we're willing to talk about the really hard stuff. The Olympics presents a great opportunity because it's revealed this power structure. We see what it is. You see that it doesn't really matter whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, whether you're ideologically conservative or liberal, whether you're a progressive or a member of the Tea Party.
Yeah, just get things done, for crying out loud.
Exactly. What do we care? Get it done.
That's it. And Evan, this is why I invited you last December. This is why I have you on my show. I get a lot of heat. Why are you getting this guy? Why are you getting this guy? It's like, it's because, don't you want to hear some answers? Don't you want to hear something from somebody else? Just, we're all in the same boat, for crying out loud. Evan, please, if you're free the 25th, come to our event. You know where it is, right down there on Canal Bar, at the Canal Bar.
You guys, I had a lot of fun at that event. I guess that was back in December.
Yeah.
And it was, what was fun about it? There was no reason to have a debate. Mark and I weren't running for anything.
Sure.
But we were doing
talk
something.
It out.
Exactly. We were doing something very American, which is sitting together and doing what the British back in the 18th century would have called an act of sedition, which was talking politics. And
well,
disagreeing.
we at the Tea Party, we're very good at that.
That's right.
Here at the Meat and Potato Show, we're very good at that.
Sitting in a basement, having a beer, talking about how our government ought to work. That's America, And yeah, we disagree on a lot of stuff, but that was cool, and it was fun. And I'd love to join you guys again for anything, even just to hang out. And I think I owe someone a beer. So.
Well, here's the thing: the 25th. I know you're a busy guy, so you're probably not going to make the 25th. But we're going to skip July. Because we got a big thing coming up in August over at Ken's Steakhouse in Natick, Mass, and we're going to put something together. You'll see all the stuff. I'd love to see you there, and not just as a speaker. Just show up. Show up, and you know what? trust me, it's a Worcester Tea Party and a meat and potatoes event. So if I see your face there, I'll be like, Evan, get the freak up there and say something. Go on,
All
go
right,
on, get
I'm
your
gonna-
ass up there, man.
Well, send me the information on it. Obviously, I know where that Ken's is very
All right,
well.
good.
And you know, we'll have a lot to talk about when you know, this thing continues with the Olympics. We're going to need all the help we can from right-minded people
Oh
around.
God, you'll be coming
getting
on the
these
show.
signatures.
Don't worry, man. This is why I got hold of you again. Because it had been too long. I told you before, in the last time we spoke on the show, it's like, you know, we give it a couple of months. I got to cycle through.
Yep.
I got other
Yep.
guests, and we got you back on. We'll do it again. Sometime later in August, September, we'll get you back on.
That's
We'll
fantastic.
talk about this. Because it ain't going away, man.
And neither are you, and neither am I.
Evan Falchuk. Evan, give a website, United Independent.
Sure.
Give the website.
Yeah, so two websites, unitedindependent.org, that's the party. Go there and look at that, unitedindependent.org. For the Olympics,
Yeah.
we got a good URL. It's called bostonolympics.vote. .vote, so not .com or .org, it's .vote.
Right.
bostonolympics.vote. So there you can see all the information about what our referendum says, no taxpayer money, no taxpayer guarantees. It doesn't get in the way of the state spending money on transportation, which it should be doing, but it says no taxpayer money for the Olympics.
Right.
And that's what we need the help with. But we called our organization Citizens for a Say, because we just think people should have the right to vote.
That's right. Exactly.
That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, Evan Falchuk, United Independence Party, gubernatorial candidate for governor in 2014. Evan, God bless. Bless your
God bless
family.
you.
Thank you so much for
Likewise.
coming on to the show, sir.
All right, take care.
We'll see you soon.
You bet.
And there you go, folks.